Right. So you all are warmly welcome to first AIESEC Sri Lanka podcast program. So this is basically based on the leadership. So this is a proud production of a national showcasing team of AIESEC Sri Lanka. So actually, this discussion or the first AIESEC Sri Lanka podcast is based on the leadership. A leader is someone who knows the way. A leader is someone who goes the way, and a leader is someone who shows the way. Therefore, leaders should be always futuristic and visionary. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about the true stories regarding this leadership under AIESEC Sri Lanka podcast series. So, you all are warmly welcome to first AIESEC Sri Lanka podcast program. So today's topic, the motion of the day, is how leaders should adapt to next 5 years. I will repeat the motion of the day. How leaders should adapt to next 5 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, actually, AIESEC is the world's largest youth-run organization, and it is a leadership-oriented organization, as you know. So AIESEC, as the largest youth-run organization, has been focused about shaping future leaders since 1948. So National Showcasing Team of AIESEC Sri Lanka has identified these podcasts to be an effective medium to keep Sri Lankan youth engaged. So this series will be done with the participation of various leaders from the various fields, together with lots of success stories. So this will provide the Sri Lankan youth to become future leaders, not just future leaders, but far-sighted future leaders. Okay. Okay, so all right, without any delay, we are going to introduce the guest speakers of the day. So the first great leadership personality that we have invited to this session, he is the finance manager in AIESEC International 2021 term and the member committee president of AIESEC Sri Lanka for 1920 term. So we all would like to warmly welcome Mr. Navodya Jayasinghe to AIESEC Sri Lanka first podcast. And the next personality, he is the member committee president-elect 2021 term and member committee vice president of AIESEC Sri Lanka for people management 1920 term. So we all are warmly welcome you also, Mr. Sisitha Gayara. Okay. For this session today, I'm Pasan Wijayawardhana, Member Committee Vice President for Outgoing Global Internships elect for 2021 term. Okay. So without any delay, we'll move to the session, the question round. Okay. So I would like to direct my first question to Mr. Navodya Jayasinghe. So Mr. Navodya, you are the current member committee president of AIESEC Sri Lanka. So being the leader of such a big national organization is a great victory that one can achieve within his or her life. So somebody should be stayed behind you in this leadership career. So, Mr. Navodya, my question is, who is the person that inspired you to become leader that you are today?
First of all, thank you, Pasan, for the introduction, as well as everyone behind the team who's organizing this. So let me, before I direct into the question, once again remind that the great efforts that has been put in order to make this happen, as well as Pasan for hosting this podcast as well. And so moving into the question, what you said about who inspired me, or more of who supported me in order to kind of go through this, I would say, the journey, the career of this leadership. So how I would put this is the idea of it is it's not like, okay, I saw some video or I met this person and I got inspired. It's not like that. That is not the story that I have from my side, at least. So it is more of, I guess, how the concept of reliability has been affecting my life, impacting my life. So if I would put it in a way which would I, how would I put it? It is that throughout my the experience, maybe starting from the school, I always wanted to be a person who is reliable. So when I was given a responsibility to fulfill that responsibility, I think taking action, especially like when you are given a responsibility, you take you be reliable, you be accountable, you take ownership of that. Maybe it's a small task, but doing that actually gets yourself into a cycle of like, okay, you take a responsibility, you deliver the responsibility, and then you get more responsibilities. You start like it's a cycle where you become more you take ownership, you become more responsible. I guess that action itself is what keeps me inspiring, rather than I would say a specific person, of course. But then again, of course, during my school, of course, from my families to my friends, everyone is a support system for sure in order to be a reliable person. I think the concept of reliability, being a reliable person, is what cascades into continuously taking up responsibilities and delivering those responsibilities, which pushes me to take more. I guess that would be my answer of how I would how I have been coming through this journey.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Navodya Jayasinghe. Being reliable is a great victory that you have achieved within your life. Okay, so thank you. We'll move to Mr. Sisitha Gayara. So, Mr. Sisitha, you are the elected member committee president for 2021 term in AIESEC Sri Lanka. Now, you are also can be identified as a great leader that can identify it in organizational structure. So, who is the person that inspired you to become the leader as this? Yes.
Yes, thank you, Pasan. First of all, from my side also, I would like to appreciate the team for organizing such a series. I think that's a discussion, that's a topic that we should run at the moment, and like most of the people are looking for leadership at this current with the current situation. So thank you for inviting me as well. So going to the question that you asked, from my side, it's not just one person that I really follow up, but it does not mean that I do not look up to. But I do look up to people, and if I feel like that there's some qualities that I admire, and if there are some the qualities that I think that it's great to have in me also, then of course I look up to those people. It's not just one person, but if I see them, I always look up to them and I try to learn them. That has been the people inspiring people, like there are set of leaders people that I see and I have met in my life, that I'm trying to be greater than, and have those like good qualities in me as a leader. So in my journey also, like I have been in like from my childhood time, I have been taking different leadership roles at different stages, and the responsibilities is different at those stages. But what I have found is something that I'm passionate of, like guiding people, empowering people, and like being engaging with people, doing some help to them. So that's something passion, and I have been engaging with these leadership type positions with my passion. And on the journey, there was a lot of learning in order to be a like leader that I am today. But still, I believe there's a lot to learn and a lot to develop as a great leader. So yeah, so that's how I have been like developing me as a leader, and that's how I inculcated with my passion. So yeah, so basically there's no particular person, but there are a lot of people that I look up to, and I learn those qualities from them and try to develop them in my personality.
Okay, great, Mr. Sisitha. So that means not only one person, there are multiple set of people who are behind in you, no? Right. So extremely interesting about that idea. And we'll move to Mr. Navodya Jayasinghe once again. Okay. So, as we all know, ladies and gentlemen, you already know we cannot generate leaders by 2, 3 nights. We cannot generate leaders by 1 day or 2 days, right? So, it's a very big journey. Being a leader is a very big journey. So, Mr. Navodya, can you briefly explain the milestone of your AIESEC journey? And as a leader, what was the biggest challenge that you have ever faced within your AIESEC career?
Okay. So talking about my AIESEC career, so this is probably because I joined back in late 2014 to 2015, early 2015. So probably this is like so I'm going ahead with my like fifth year in terms of AIESEC, and especially if I would say, I think as milestones. So because it has been most of like taking responsibilities and leading a team and leading an entity throughout, like starting from the university and like coming up to the national level, and of course for the next year, the year 2021, of course being a part of AIESEC International as well. So I consider, in terms of milestones, I believe like coming through being a local committee vice president to local committee president to a member committee vice president and member committee president, and of course getting into AIESEC International. So I believe like each of these as milestones of my AIESEC journey for sure. But then again, apart from that, I guess what is more valuable and the biggest learning, I guess you mentioned as a biggest challenge, uh, would probably be uh, two two instances, I guess. So I would put it, one of the instances where I faced, I guess, which challenged me. It's not like a very kind of a like a big problem also, but then again, uh, one of the best times which challenge really put me to thinking about leadership and really developed me as a person was when I was LCP, that is local committee president, back in 2017, which actually gave me a lot of opportunity, because I believe if you take AIESEC experiences, at least from all the experiences that I had, I would say the most difficult experience would always be the position of LCP, because that is the place where you lead the most amount of people. You have to take responsibility of the most amount of people. I mean directly, because that is an area where you need to really manage a team, as well as you need to come up. You need to balance a multiple amount of things. So I believe that is one of the most powerful experiences that I had, as well as for the people who's having this experience as well. So I believe whatever the role, the kind of responsibilities that I had as LCP would be one of the biggest challenges. In terms of, it's a very generic, I would say the entire term. But the next thing I would say, the biggest challenges that I had is my MCP experience. Why? Because starting off the MCP experience, of course, last year during the same time, we remember during the late April and first few weeks of May, we were again last year we were at home, right, or at the place where we were, because didn't want to travel because of the risk of like having bombs and stuff like that. So I remember similarly last year, I remember we were at the AIESEC office. So at least for 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, we didn't travel anywhere. Like we didn't get out of office. We were entirely at the office. We didn't go home or anything, because there was a risk of getting out. And it's a more of a similar, exactly similar this time, not in the office but at home, but we are still here. So I believe like starting, I remember selecting my team to getting started with the experience is more of like starting and ending, having a lot of very uncertain environments. So I believe like it's one of the most challenging, because you need to change a lot of things. You need to make sure whatever the challenges, you should like keep everyone engaged and like everyone driven for it. So I believe that those are two biggest challenges, as well as most two biggest learnings in my AIESEC career so far. Yeah.
Okay, nice, Mr. Navodya. You said that you all were arrested inside the office, and it was a biggest challenge. Okay, nice. So right, okay, and you said that LCP experience and MCP experience. Those are some of the challenging experiences that you have already faced within this ISAC journey. Okay, cool, interesting. Right. Okay. We'll direct the same question to Mr. Sisitha Gayara. Now, I personally know you. Because of that, I know you have started your career as a team leader in ISAC and climbed this leadership ladder of ISAC journey, and little by little team manager, then later the local committee vice president, local committee president, and now you have already reached to member committee president position. So this is a kind of a big journey. So can you explain the milestone of your ISAC journey, and what was the biggest challenge that you ever faced with this ISAC career?
Yeah, from like, my side, as you explained, it's first the team member role, then team leader role, then local committee vice president or the vice president role in our university local committee, and then the vice president of national president, and then community vice president of national role, and then I'm also going to take up the president role. So out of them, what's most challenging was the president role of Isaac in University of Colombo. So I think by being in vice president role, sometimes I didn't feel the sort of like responsibility that gets to a president. And once I took up the president role, I think there I feel like how much of responsibility, how much of like gravity is there in that role. So like because at that time like we have like the president had to take the decisions for the people and even the guiding people and the vision, like we need to like provide like guide the whole membership and hold the organization of Isaac in University of Columbia in that time. So like there's kind of a lot of responsibility, and like we the every or the whole that the local committee runs with that vision. So that's the first time that I've like felt that much of responsibility, and that's the most challenging, because like the everything that I do, I need to take up the output of it, because the decisions that we make, we are accountable to that. Yeah, so like as an overall, it's the most challenging role that I faced, and in the meantime that I had to take different decisions. It's not just one, because it's 1 year period. There were a lot of decisions that I had to take in terms of moving forward, and there were times that whether like we had to think for future, like 2-3 years after, like how it will affect in the future for the local committee, and like be accountable. So it's not just one situation, but there are a lot of decisions that had to take. And that time I think like the leaders who were there on top ladders, like especially even Navodya, who was my predecessor, that those are some people I looked up to, and I got advices and took the decisions with like their support and advices, and also thinking at the current reality of the entity, we had to take decisions. So I think what something a very more responsible thing that a leader gets is about decision making. So because that person need to be accountable, and that we need to think about the future, how each and every decision will affect in the future. After that, I think the upcoming one, the president of ISEC in Sri Lanka in this term, like 2021 term, so that will be the most challenging I expect, because with the current situation, I expect that will be the most challenging role that I have faced, because everyone says like this is a world, we are in a time that the whole world is facing a lot of challenges. So I do think like guiding and directing an organization in national scale. So it'll be, I hope and I believe that it'll be one of the most and biggest challenging role in my life, and I do think my vice president and the team will be with me, including you, Pasan. So yeah, I'm ready to face it as well.
Okay. So extremely nice. You are forecasting about future challenges also. So that's the far-sightedness of the leaders. Okay. So exactly, very interesting. Right. Okay. Nice. So we'll again once again move to Mr. Navodya Jayasinghe. So, Mr. Navodya Jayasinghe, as the current member committee president of AIESEC Sri Lanka, you are working tirelessly for the development of this amazing organization. So my question is, okay, so you have lots of development plans. You had actually lots of development plans. So what are the areas that you concern highly when you are implementing development plans during your period?
Okay, so Pasan, that's a interesting question because especially this term, maybe you all remember or not, like when I was applying for the position of member committee president, uh, I I was presenting the concept of uh, making a transformation. So even the theme for the year, it has been lead the transformation. So the core idea has been behind that over a period of time, because if you look at the statistics, the numbers of AIESEC Sri Lanka and overall how the youth of Sri Lanka is everyone's being operating, we see that we see a lot of changes after 2009. After the civil war ended, we see a lot of boom in the economy and a lot of activity actually in the context of youth in Sri Lanka as well. So we've been analyzing a lot of numbers, and we see that from 2009 onwards, like it has been continuously growing. But then again, especially for the last 2 to 3 years, we see a lot of stagnation happening, and it's more of like people become more process driven. Yes, they execute the things that are already happening, but we saw a lack of innovation, lack of thinking big, or lack of entirely looking in a different perspective, like you mentioned in the beginning, of being more far-sightedness or thinking futuristic, I would say, is something that I was always thinking about. So that's why I brought up the concept, and together with the team, we brainstormed on the concept of lead the transformation. We believe that we have hit kind of a plateau, and we are at the verge of it. And if we don't take like a I would say a leap of faith, and we kind of innovate, we kind of transform, we would see a decline of the potential of the organization. Because AIESEC is a very agile, very dynamic organization. You see AIESEC, like every 5 years we change, we have a roadmap, like we have the midterm ambitions, we change a lot. AIESEC is very agile. AIESEC, the word change is the most frequent word of in AIESEC. So with that, but we took a one step further from change to making it a transformation. So looking at your question, like what are the things that we put the most amount of attention towards during this term is kind of transformation in a lot of aspects, but I would highlight few aspects. One thing is digitally. So you would see throughout the year we have been investing a lot to change how we interact with people, because of course, we always remember AIESEC. What is the core strength or core competency of AIESEC is its people. That is the core competency of AIESEC. But when we base our strengths, it's about people. But then again, when we are doing operations, there are a lot of things that we can improve. We can automate, and we can focus more on the core of leadership rather than simply processes. So that is somewhere we wanted to take out processes to be more automated, more digital driven. And I would say, like, looking at adopting a lot of technologies and making sure the kind of skills that we develop in AIESEC is suitable for the years to come, from especially from the years forecasting for the years of 2025, because we talk a lot about the kind of skills that people need from 2020 onwards. Especially we talk about because we talk about skills such as complex problem solving, innovation, creative thinking, design thinking kind of concepts. But then again, if you look at it, when I was joining AIESEC in 2015-14, uh, the kind of skills that we were talking about is presentation skills, email skills, the kind of basic skills. But then again, those skills are already more of basic skills right now in all of the youth. But then again, we need to be more far-sightedness. We need to think of the skills that we prepare the membership, the people in AIESEC to be prepared for 2025, I would say. So that is where we wanted to change, because in the future, like every person now knows how to use a computer. That is a basic. Whether you study maths, whether you study biology, whether you study, I don't know, music, whatever it is, basic skills come in terms of computer technology. So those kind of things we look at. What are the kind of skills we need for 2025, and we want to bring that kind of transformation in order to facilitate this kind of experience. So I would say that is where we've been really looking into transforming, looking at 2025, what are the kind of skills, knowledge, experiences that we want to develop in the organization.
Okay, cool. So actually, the one and only thing that we cannot change in the world is the change. Is the change. So according to the transformation perspective or perception of Mr. Navodya Jayasinghe, you have already lead to change the change as well. Okay, so it's really inspiring and interesting, and I think youth population in Sri Lanka we're really excited to hear such a thing from your voice. Okay, thank you. Right, so I would like to direct the next question to Mr. Sisitha Gayara. Now, Sri Lanka is suffering with a big issue right now, and you also have a big development plan to develop this amazing organization as coming member committee president of AIESEC Sri Lanka. So, Mr. Sisitha, as the elect member committee president of AIESEC Sri Lanka, okay, you have a nice development plan, and in your development plan, which areas will you put your highest attention to it?
Yes, moving on to that question. First, like when I'm also applying to be the president of AIESEC in Sri Lanka, I also had a dream for this organization, because with the current team, we had a lot of changes and like improving the capacity, or like in terms of digital transformations, a lot of transformation inside the organization in order to move forward stronger. So with that, I also had a dream that we will start doing a lot of impact to this world by doing a lot of exchanges and developing more leadership skills in our membership. So that was the thing that I expected to have by the end of term 2021. But with the current situation, I think as leaders, we need to take right decisions or right direction at the right time. So with that, what I believe is at the moment, we as an organization, we need to focus on in a moment that we cannot do like cross-cultural exchanges between other countries, with this that current situation of COVID-19. We the recent times, we still because when we look at the core of our organization, it's leadership development, and I do believe that it's still possible. So there are a set of leadership qualities, and in our leadership qualities as well, we say that as leaders, we need to be solution oriented, and that's the same thing that we need to do. And about the key focus areas, I was having this discussion with the team also, and with everyone's ideas, and also from my side, the direction that I also wanted to have. We set out three main focus areas. So I would say, like in this situation, as an organization, of course, we need to think about our financial management and make sure that our organization is keep operating, and make sure our organization is ready to face the challenges coming forth. And then about our membership engagement, like membership management, like there are a lot of 1,100 plus members we have in this organization, and we need to still make sure that we keep developing them, and also we keep upskilling their leadership skills or all the other skills. So it's how we should engage them. We should make sure that they are getting, in our development model, we say 70 to 30, 20 to 10%. 70% it's practical experience, 20% peer to peer, and 10% is the education. So we are in a time that we need to think new and be solution oriented in bringing all those aspects, all those our objectives of this organization. So of course, with that, the third one, I would say, it's innovation. And at this time, this is a time that we need to innovate new ways how we do things. And very recently, I looked at a video by Simon Sinek. He said, in this time that we need to think about worry about our why. like not about what or how more of, but like if we are doing if we are addressing our why of this particular, because that's what we are unique at. That's what the leadership development through our leadership development model is what we are unique at. So we should worry about that and maybe innovate based on that. So yeah, so mainly if it's four focus areas in the next term, it will be more of financial management and membership management, and also more of innovation. And to add on to it, like even when I'm selecting my team, together with my predecessors now, that we were thinking like at this situation we will need to innovate. And when I'm selecting my team also, I looked out more innovative personalities into the team, and that's how we were taking decisions, thinking about the future of this organization.
Okay, nice. So, as an innovative leader, we think you can achieve the dream what you are planning right now to achieve. Right. Okay, nice. So, this is a very interesting question for Mr. Navodya Jayasinghe. Right. So when you consider about, or when we consider about the past few months, okay, Mr. Navodya Jayasinghe have already started his MC term. MC term being the president term on 1st of August. But we all know entire world have experienced the start of COVID-19 issue on 2019 December. Okay, that means you have started your term on August, and by the December, you have already faced a very, very big global issue. And however, on 11th March 2019, WHO have announced this COVID-19 virus as a global issue or global pandemic situation. So still you have few months to go within your term, with your term. Okay. So this is a certain kind of uncertain period, and you are handling your leadership within this uncertainty. So working towards achieving an unseen goal under such uncertain situation might turn your followers demotivated and idle. So in such a situation, which method would you like to practice in order to motivate your followers to get them back on track? So, Mr. Navodya, it's time for you.
Okay. So this question is, in a way, I would say it's a very easy question as well. The reason is, like you mentioned, of course, during, especially during, because I remember myself and Sisitha, we went to the International Presidents Meeting, where all the AIESEC presidents get together annually. So we had it in Russia. So in February, we were heading to Russia as well. And we were really discussing about this, especially in the Asia region, because by the time in February, it was more of a problem within Asia, at the Southeast Asia mostly. So, but then again, the beauty of AIESEC is by that time, the entire global community was, I guess, a lot of corporates, even a lot of, not just corporates, a lot of countries even didn't really take this up as a problem. But then again, as I said, people were discussing how this would impact. They were always thinking futuristic and always thinking of the kind of risks that we will face and the kind of changes, adaptations that we need to take as well. So that is one aspect. But then again, you're asking more of like within a lot of uncertainty. And of course, right now we have suspended all the operations, which we would have been doing during this period of time, especially in a massive scale, which we would have been doing. Of course, when we were starting back in August, we were planning a lot of things to do in terms of recovery, especially after the bombing incident, Easter attacks happened in Sri Lanka. So we were planning, investing, thinking a lot of how we can recover. And then again, we have this coming in December, January. So I would say it's a very simple solution in times of crisis, because there has been a lot of conversations. A lot of people have been talking to me and asking me, like, what is the youth role during this situation? How would you take up with the organization, or what's the kind of advice that you would have in terms of not just this organization or any organization? I think the core idea here is to always, in times of a crisis or anything, is to look at the purpose of the organization. Like Sisitha was mentioning, I want to elaborate it a bit further, because every organization has a purpose, right? A why, a core purpose of why this organization exists. And then we have the how and the what. If you look at the golden circle model. But then again, AIESEC is predominantly an organization which believes in leadership development. The core vision is, of course, peace and fulfillment of humankind's potential. But then again, what is the kind of, I would say, the business of AIESEC is developing leaders. So in this situation, but the model, the kind of the activity that we take in order to develop leaders is cross-cultural exchanges. But in this situation, of course, I think we are as hit as the airlines industry, or some like an industry which is specially connecting a global community. This is the worst we could get. So I would say, like, we have hit, almost rock bottom in this scenario. So in this situation, so especially when exchanges are not happening, the core idea, how you motivate, how you keep this organization running, is looking at the purpose and looking at the core idea. Because does this pandemic make leadership irrelevant? Then we are a problem. But then again, we are an organization which focuses on leadership, and leadership is the most relevant thing at this situation. That means the purpose of this organization is relevant more than ever. So that means there's nothing to be worried about. So that is the core idea. So what I would say, what we need to really focus on right now, and I would advise to everyone, is just remember the purpose and what we are built for. And right now we need to look at that as a strength, and we need to work towards that. That is the key idea. If we focus on exchanges, the what, of course, we are going to get demotivated. But we need to focus on the core idea of leadership, and then focus all our energy on that. And that will bring out a lot of inspiration and a lot of innovation, a lot of thinking, a lot of ideas to move forward. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So as soon as I ask this question, you accept this question as a yes, Pasan, it is easy question and like that. Okay, so I think that's the confidence that you have regarding the plans and all these things that you have already implemented within your term. So having that confidence is a very good characteristic that one leader can achieve. Okay, right. So it's really interesting. Thank you, Mr. Navodya Jayasinghe. Right, and we'll direct another question on Sisitha Gayara, Mr. Sisitha. So what is the importance of demonstrating integrity for a leader to maintain healthy relationship with the followers? That means, how will this play an important role in organizational culture? Yes, Sisitha?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So when it comes to demonstrating integrity, as we know, that's also kind of main value, one of our 6 value that we have in our like AIESECers. And of course, we are as a leadership development organization, we expect that value to be having leaders. And from my side also, I just say like what is integrity means to me. So basically, what integrity means to me is like I do what I say I'm going to do, and let's say I'm where I say I'm going to, where I say that I'm going. So like being authentic, like being true to your word, that's what I take more from integrity, demonstrating integrity. And I when I always give promises, I'm very concerned about that, whether like I can achieve. If I promise, then I'll try my best to do be true to this word. And I believe being like this demonstrating integrity also means like being authentic. So that is something really important as a leader. And from my perspective also, this with the integrity is a very connected thing with a leader, because especially when it comes to followers, if followers needs to trust, of course that particular leader needs to be trustable, and like that person needs to be have living with integrity, and that person should demonstrate integrity. Then only the followers will look up to and follow that person. So if if we need to be a leader with followers, and then we should develop the trust in our followers by being by demonstrating integrity. So that's my view. And as I said, so demonstrating integrity is what makes a true leader with followers, and that helps to become build trust on our followers, and that's something we really need to have as leaders, and of course in especially in AIESEC as a leadership development organization. That is something we need to have in our culture.
Okay, so great, Mr. Sisitha Gayara. So I would like to ask another question together with that perspective of yourself. So as per your view, what kind of impact criticism will have on shaping a leader to face the future world? Okay, according to your perspective, can you give me an answer?
Yeah. So with this current situation, I think I saw a lot of discussions going on about leadership, because at the current situation, it's more of like decision at the taking at right time, right? So people were discussing whether the leaders are very proactive to take right decisions at right time. Otherwise, there will be a lot of impact. So, and this is time that I think more of people are talking about leadership the impact of leadership roles, that the importance of leadership roles, proper leaders. So especially like other than that, even outside, I think more of like corporates also discuss about leadership skills in the people, and that how important it is in the future. And like different research, like I saw how the importance of leadership in the future world, and like how much we need to develop these leadership skills within us if in order to face challenges in the future. So this in the future world, of course, I also from my personal I also believe leadership is something we really need to have, because there'll be new challenges, and with the rapid changes across the world in terms of technology, and also together with that in parallel lifestyles will change. And of course with this current situation, our lifestyle, it'll not be the lifestyle that we used to have back then, like because after this situation the lifestyle will be different. So, and they are also like facing a lot of new challenges, and like being solution oriented, like bringing new solutions and facing them is something that really important in the future world. And of course I also believe this is a good time that we put more effort. We have been putting effort like together in all around the world about developing leadership, but I think this is time that we need to put more effort, and the changes in the future will happen very fast with this current situation. So shaping a leader is something that we also trying to do with different practical experiences, and making it bring it more focus. So I think especially we as a leadership development organization, we have a unique model. So we follow that, and we would like to there are different models, of course, developing leadership, but I think from my experience, I believe in the leadership model that we have, like going through different like practical experiences in challenging environment, then like we going reflecting through our inner journey, and then developing our leadership, like focusing on our leadership qualities. So yes, of course, I would like to invite all the other people who are listening to this, like bring your focus in developing leadership, and that will be very important in the future world if you want to outstand.
Okay, great. Excited. Okay. Right. So this is the last question for Mr. Navodya Jayasinghe. Right. So, Mr. Navodya, when we consider about the current world, so currently we have a great issue in Sri Lanka as well as in the outside of the Sri Lanka, which is known as the COVID-19 issue. Right. Not only with this issue, even with the previous issues, we will experience lots of changes and lots of new trends in future. Especially the corporate sector will face lots of challenges after this COVID-19 issue as well. Okay, so my question is, as the successful leader of the largest youth-run organization of Sri Lanka, what are the changes and new trends? What are the changes and new trends that you predict in future corporate industry? Mr. Navodya?
Okay, thank you, Pasan. So, first of all, when you say predict, I wouldn't want to, because I'm not a fortune teller. So I wouldn't want to go ahead like, okay, this would happen and this would happen. But I would rather answer this question in more of a perspective where currently what would the corporate industry would want to see, especially connecting this more into the context of youth and the kind of things that the corporate industry is being prepared for, rather than how predicting for the future. I would rather say, like, because having a lot of conversations with people from the corporate sector as well, especially during this period of time as well. So I would rather say maybe this can you all can use this as a direction for the future, but I would rather illustrate in a manner where what the corporate is right now looking. So I would start this answer by one of the biggest things after the pandemic, the corporates and especially organizations, to any government organization, institution, to anything, would realize the difference between, properly they will realize the difference between a manager and a leader. Because oftentimes when with the positions and titles and everything, we tend to label everything higher as a leadership position, but most of the time what happens is there is a lot of managerial positions. So people often get confused with that, because after COVID, with COVID especially, people are identified what are the kind of roles are actually managerial roles and the kind of leadership roles. So especially when you're talking about leadership roles, we see a lot of managerial roles of tracking people to, and not like giving orders, but I would say like motivate. It's about motivating people and like allocating, delegate them work and getting all those things done. That is more of a managerial role, but more of a leadership role applies to being visionary and empowering people to come up with the ideas, and like more of a giving an empowerment space. It's rather than a lot of tracking and everything. Yes, but of course people who take up is a mixture of leadership as well as managerial roles, but then again a lot of good differentiation will happen. But then what I would predict is for the future is the changes that will happen in the education industry, especially because we talk about leadership, but then again leadership as an industry, leadership comes as more of an informal education kind of industry. If you ask like even what is the industry which AIESEC is based on, it's more of an informal education. But then again what I would say is people will tend to, a lot of corporates as well as the governments will tend to look at education in a different manner. So that is what I'm predicting, maybe for 2025, a lot of changes in terms of how education happens, what are the kind of things that people teach would change a lot, especially because how we have been trained in school to the even to the universities is more of to study on a specific subject area, to study on that and like then work for an organization, or even still even if you promote entrepreneurship, work on your own, build your own company, still we promote, we teach, we provide education of like studying, learning, uh, learning a subject area. But then again how would education would change, as I would see, and how would corporates demand is that education would change to a place where people will start to think what are the kind of problems that I need to solve in the future, or like what are the kind of problems can I solve for the problems that I want to solve as well. So that changes the perspective of how you learn things. For an example, if I want to solve the problem of climate problems, then again I would study multiple areas how this happens, and I would develop concepts, come up with innovations that to solve this problem. And that things can be innovation, that can be a business, that can be a corporate, can be whatever it is. It's not that to solve problems you need to be a social entrepreneur or anything like that. It's always about solving problems, because we see a lot of, for an example, in this situation as well, you see a lot of good things are happening. If I don't want to mention it, but then again if you take Pickney, we see how Pickney was able to support in the situation, how they innovated, how they managed the situation. So that is because they are trying to solve a problem in this situation. So the corporates will look into people who wants to solve the problem rather than come and do an operational job. So that is where I'm thinking how the education will change. Education will be about learning how to learn. It's not about learning the content, but learning how to learn, because there's a multitude of ways. Because of course with this COVID, the digital transformation, the learning systems has drastically changed. That entirely impacts on the education industry. So what I'm seeing is a massive change in the education industry. How people will learn how to learn, and the core idea of learning is to solve problems. And your motivation, your drive, your purposes of being a leader or being like make even going for a job is about solving problems. You will every day think about how would I solve this problem. Then you gather a team, you drive that team, you give leadership to solve that problem. So that is where I'm thinking the corporate industry, that is where youth need to develop. Because if you want to work for an organization, or if you want to succeed in the organization, you need to think from that perspective, change how you educate yourself, and think what are the kind of problems that you want to solve in the future. I think, yeah, that is the kind of way forward that I see.
Okay, nice. Thank you very much. I think you have elaborated the difference between a manager and a leader. So what we need at this point in Sri Lanka is to generate more leaders, not more managers. No? So every leader is a manager, but not every manager is a leader. So I think it's a really interesting topic to be discussed, right? Thank you very much for Navodya, Mr. Navodya Jayasinghe, for that wonderful idea. Right. So we'll move to the last question of the first AIESEC Sri Lanka podcast. Okay. So this question, I would like to direct this question to Mr. Sisitha Gayara. So, Mr. Sisitha, actually, we are suffering in a very difficult period right now. Okay, so even though we are facing a certain kind of uncertain period, we need well-defined set of goals to face the future. No, so even though the situation is uncertain, we have to set some goals for future. So my question is, as a leader, in your perspective, what is the importance of having a precise and well-defined set of goals about the future of AIESEC Sri Lanka? Mr. Sisitha?
Yeah. So, answering to that question, I also believe, as we usually say, the leader is more of like the person who give the direction, or the place that who will guide all the followers to where we want to be as an organization. Of course, I don't believe that if a leader just go where, like, if doesn't have proper well defined set of goals, that means that's not a leader in true to my experience and true to my perspective. Because, like, the person, like most of the followers, what they expect from the leader is to guide them to a place that they want to be. If the leader goes like the on the way that their head turns up, or like in single we say if the leader go in that way, I think the followers will fed up and they will start not following. And from like what I saw, like followed by referring to a lot of leaders in the world, most of the visionary leaders has a lot of followers, because the people love their vision, and also working on their purpose. So from my experience, also from my perspective, I do believe that the person, a leader should have a vision or like proper direction to where that we need to move forward as an organization. And of course, the well defined goals and precise goals follow with the vision. And if that, like, goal just put without a proper vision or the direction, then that also doesn't make sense. So that's what I believe. Like, a leader is a must to have a proper vision for this organization, and all the goals like should be precise and well defined, following the vision. So in the same way, for AIESEC in Sri Lanka, I also have a, like, we also, like, in for AIESEC overall we have a vision, and for particular terms we set different goals and precise and well defined goals. Yes, as you said. So that's but like from our side, like, that's before starting term we should have a well defined goals, like following the vision. And that is important. I mean, for a leader it is very important, like having a very clear sense, like crystal clear vision, and also the path it's well defined, so that the followers will be following you, and be you being playing a role as a proper leader. So yes, it is very important, and having a vision, following the like having proper goals, following the vision.
Okay, thank you, Sisitha, and thank you, Navodya. So, thanks a lot for joining with us. So, the two guest speakers who have joined with the first AIESEC Sri Lanka podcast are the finance manager in International and member committee president of AIESEC Sri Lanka, Mr. Navodya Jayasinghe, and the other personality who joined with us is the member committee president elect. Of AIESEC Sri Lanka and member committee vice president for people management in AIESEC Sri Lanka, Mr. Sisitha Gayara. So thank you for both of these personalities. Thank you for sacrificing your valuable time for this kind of productive conversation. Okay. And I would like to express our gratitude for the production team of AIESEC Sri Lanka podcast. The production team is not any other, that is National Showcasing Team of AIESEC Sri Lanka. So thank you very much, National Showcasing Team. You have organized this in a very good way. So I think AIESEC Sri Lanka is always trying to give the best out of best. So we are doing this in future as well. So join with AIESEC Sri Lanka podcast series in future as well. We will meet again in future for a big productive conversation. So thank you very much. Good luck for all. Thank you very much. Bye. See you.
Thank you, Pasan and the team. Thank you.
Thank you.